When weaving peyote stitch, the hardest thing that you can do is weave rows 1, 2, and 3. Peyote stitch is a staggered weaving technique. You will see what I mean by looking at the charts, and you will get a better grasp of this once you start weaving. The first thing that we need to do is string the 9 beads that comprise rows 1 and 2 and the first bead of row 3 onto our thread. So what I'm going to ask you to do right now is put one more red bead on your thread, put 4 white beads on your thread, and then put 4 red beads on your thread. You're going to let them slide all the way back to your stop bead. So this is what you have. Now is the very, very hardest row in this entire project. What you're going to do is double back. And you're going to take your needle, you're going to hold this somewhat flat. You're going to take your needle, you're going to count back 1, 2, 3, and you're going to put it through the 4th bead in this row. It's the last red bead in the row, and you're going to pull your thread through. And you're going to snug this up. So nice and snug, not overly tight, but just nice and snug. So what you end up with is a little clover leaf on a stem. Now you're going to pick up 1 white bead with your needle. You're going to pass over 1 bead. You're going to have to bend this just slightly to get your needle through, and you're going to take your needle and you're going to put it through the 2nd white bead, and you're going to draw it through. And you're just going to snug it up. It may look a little bit out of shape right now. That'll straighten out when you get the next row in. You're going to pick up 1 more white bead. You're going to pass over the next bead. You're going to go through the last white bead in the row. And you're going to snug this up again. Now you're going to you're back to the red, what's the start of the red stripe. You're going to pick up 1 red bead, and you're going to pass it through the last bead, which, as you recall, was also your stop bead. And you're going to pull it nice and snug, not overly tight. Now you may find that your threads get a little bit twisted or tangled. Just gently tease them apart. You don't want to pull them tight or really fight with them. If you can't pull them apart with your needle, then your fingers, go ahead and use your needle to pull them apart. If you're still having trouble, call me. I'll come over and help you with it. So now you can see that you've got, in essence, a little staggered pieces. And you've got 3 rows. You've got row 1, you've got a 2nd row in the middle, and row 3. Now we're going to go up, put on row 4. And the way we're going to do that, we're going to first separate our tail from our beading thread. And I like to hold the tail in the same hand that I'm holding my piece. It just keeps it out of the way. I'm going to pick up 2 reds. And there's a red, and you can see it sticks up just slightly above the white that follows it. pass your needle through the red bead. And again, you just want to make it a little bit snug. Now what we're doing is we're going to have the same color on top of the same color below. So next you can see it's a white below, so we're going to put a white on top. Pass your needle through the next white bead. There's another white bead beneath. So pick up another white bead. Now the next one is a red bead. So now this is what our piece looks. You can see we have 4 rows. Put 2 red beads on your needle. Skip the first bead. You want to go for the bead that's raised. Pass it through the first red bead that's raised. Again, snug it up, not too tight, but not too loose. Now you might find that you have something that looks like this. The way to fix it is to grab your little end bead, pull backwards so that the second bead falls in place, and then snug it up again. Put a white bead. Now this one got a little bit twisted. You want to avoid that. You can generally tug on it a little bit and it'll straighten out. If it doesn't straighten out with just a little tiny bit of tugging, use your needle to straighten it out. Put on another white bead. Put on another white bead. Oh, excuse me, in this case I almost made a mistake. Here we have a red opening. Put on a red bead. See, I'm always going through the bead that's raised. Now that we've gotten well past rows 1 and 2, the pathway is very clear. You can see that there are always raised beads to go through, and there are always little valleys, and the color of the bead in the bottom of the valley determines the color of the bead you're going to pick up. At the end of the row, you always pick up 2 beads. So pick up 2 beads. This is the last time I'm going to show it to you. Go through the red bead. Going to pick up a white bead. Another white bead. And a red bead. Now see how my thread got caught underneath my piece? Just take your needle and pull it out and then snug it up. And so on and so on. And this is how you make your stripes. You're going to continue this process until you've reached the length stripe you determined in the calculation we did at the beginning of the class. And then you're going to start the blue field with your NDI logo or the letters you decide to use. Now, beginning peyote stitchers have a tendency to like to turn the piece over back and forth to do this. I urge you not to do that, but to practice beading from the bottom to the top and from the top to the bottom. If you start turning it over, you're going to find it very difficult when you actually have to start weaving in a graph pattern. So use this opportunity to learn how to bead from the bottom to the top and the top to the bottom.